Recording in progress.
Good morning, dear Dharma friends. Thank you for making the effort to get up and make your way to sitting in front of your computer or your phone or whatever device you're on. Felt a little uphill for myself this morning. Some mornings it's really easy. No particular reason why it's different that I can make out. Anyway, here we are. I'm Robert Beatty. I'm coming to you from Portland, Oregon. This is a broadcast of the Portland Insight Meditation Community. It is Monday, June the 7th, 2021. I have a very short reading this morning for us with a little preamble, not a preamble, but something that will help make sense. There are something called the 10 paramis, or the 10 perfections, the 10 qualities of human being that can be cultivated. And they are generosity, virtue, renunciation, wisdom, energy, patience, truthfulness, loving kindness, and equanimity. In that order. Again, they are developable. Generosity, virtue, renunciation, wisdom, energy, patience, truthfulness, resolve, loving kindness, and equanimity. And the reading itself is a letter from Ajahn Chah to Ajahn Sumedho, I think in response to a letter of the challenges that they were facing in England in the creation of Chithurst Monastery. Ajahn Sumedho was the first Westerner to practice with Ajahn Chah. Ajahn Chah accepted him with a couple of conditions, which were, don't expect me to treat you any differently than any Thai monk, and no books for the first 2 or 3 years. Mute. Here we go. So after he'd been there for a while, and there were great difficulties, Ajahn Chah wrote this. Apparently, I think the only letter he ever wrote, Sumedho. Whenever you have feelings of love or hate for anything whatsoever, these will be your aids and partners in building parami. The Buddha Dharma is not to be found in moving forwards, nor in moving backwards, nor in standing still. This, Sumedho, is your place of non-abiding. Whenever you have feelings of love or hate for anything whatsoever, these will be your aids and partners in building parami. The Buddha Dharma is not to be found in moving forwards, nor in moving backwards, nor in standing still. This, Sumedho, is your place of non-abiding. Love and hate, liking and disliking, the constant play of liking and disliking. This will be your place of non-abiding. And let us remind ourselves of the refuges It doesn't matter what side of the bed we get up on. It's a funny saying, isn't it? You got up on the wrong side of the bed. I don't know whether people even say that. That could be an anachronism that dates me in the 17th century. No matter where we start, right here within us, before us, beside us, are the refuges. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge in being awake. Again now, and now, and now. I take refuge in the Dharma, in the elegant, profound teachings of the Buddha, and in the reality of this moment. There is absolutely no predicting, no successful predicting of what will happen in this moment or this moment. It is a bit like the weather, that some say the best predictions of the weather are to say that the weather an hour from now will be about like it is now. but you never know. And refuge in the Sangha. I didn't make up these teachings. Generation after generation. People practice and then share what they know. And so we come to practice with all beings. Please let us come home to this moment of being alive. We might contemplate, conjure up, imagine a few thoughts of gratitude. To have slept in a warm bed, to have clean running water that you can actually drink right from the tap. To be able to stand and walk. To hear and to see and to smell and taste and touch and think. To not have been awakened in the night by gunfire. To know that our children are probably safe. They're about as safe as people can be. And grateful for the Dharma and for this little community. Grateful for Ruth Dennison, who really helped make it all happen profoundly. And so we can be clear in our intent. I intend to be awake. To take as objects of observation the sitting body, breathing, And so we become intimate with in-breathing and out-breathing. Awareness notices the various trance states of desire and aversion, restlessness, agitation, and worry and planning, and sloth and torpor and dullness, and doubt, despair, dispiritedness. All of this, no more personal than weather. The mind might be very quiet, or it might be cacophonous. It could be obsessed in worry or utterly tranquil. Allowing it to be as it is. It's like this. Nothing to resist, nothing to strive for. Using the breath and the sensations of breathing as a kind of guardrail, a handhold, stability. Mindfulness illuminates everything. Happy thoughts, sad thoughts. Expansive mood, contracted mood. Strong concentration, weak concentration. Just like the sun that shines on everything, so it is that consciousness with mindfulness illuminates all. Each breath has its moment of beginning. As does each thought. each sense impact of any sense door that has its accompanying liking and disliking. This present moment is really all there is. Right now. Everything else is thought or imagination, fantasy. So why not be alive now? Living in the light of mindfulness, living with loving kindness and compassion, living with forgiveness moment by moment. in this practice of being awake, there is knowing. Mindfulness is present. There is knowing, awakening from the stories, awakening from the liking and disliking. It's like this. When the mind is contracted, there's knowing this is contracted mind. When the mind is expansive, there's knowing this is expansive. When the mind is filled with generosity, there's knowing this is the generous mind. When the mind is colored by the 5 hindrances, there's knowing these are the 5 hindrances. This is the absence of the 5 hindrances. When anxiety is present, it is known as this is anxiety. This is how it feels in the body. When peacefulness is known, is present, this is how peacefulness is. And so it is that this moment, is awake. Each breath has a beginning. And it begins before there's any movement. There's an impulse or a longing or a thirst, a need. And this then gives way into the actual movement. And then there's the rising to fullness, and then a change of direction, and then the falling away. And then it's over. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. May may we carry mindfulness with us all day today, moment after moment, as a precious gift. May our hearts be filled with loving kindness and compassion. May we remember our true great nature. I have just a reminder that Jim Dalton is conducting Rumi's Guest House this evening at 7 o'clock, Jim?
7 o'clock, yes, sir. You are welcome to join us for some little movement, some sitting practice, and some poetry and Dharma talk.
And so I invite. This mind's pretty quiet this morning. Have you something you'd like to share? Oh, there's someone. It's Joy.
Yeah, it's me. I'm visible again, sort of. I just wanted to ask about the mental states. In the last couple of months, my mother died suddenly, and then my sister-in-law died right afterwards, after a horrible, agonizing situation of lung cancer. And meanwhile, my son kind of languishes in Ottawa, which is a city that was really affected by COVID, and he's unemployed and in debt. And all of this is very oppressive to my thinking, and I'm wondering if just this constant painful feeling I have in my mind can it be resolved through meditation, or is it just, do I have to accept it? Because it's really hard to wake up every day and feel all this awful suffering. I mean, it doesn't seem to help to think, oh, I'm not, about the self, like not really
Right.
being in existence.
Right.
I'm wondering today if this is just it's a normal reaction to many situations that kind of converged, all kind of not assisted by COVID being around, because
Right.
COVID made everything more difficult, like in terms of not having memorials for these people who
Right.
died, and not being able to see my son. Well, I live in Victoria, by the way, but not being able to see him for about a year and a half. And anyway, if you have, I'm just not sure. I just would like to feel better. If there's any, if you have any suggestions.
Well, you, my dear, have had several trucks dropped on you. It's no wonder that you are suffering a lot. And what kind of support do you have for yourself in your grief?
Well, I have friends, Yeah, and I'm also a member of a Quaker community that's very nice here.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like to trouble people with my feelings.
That's
It's kind of a downer.
yeah. My mother died, my sister-in-law died, and my son is struggling to survive in isolation in Ottawa. That's a lot. And there's probably more, would be my guess. There's certainly more losses in your past, and they all come to life when we have a new loss. Have you researched in Portland? There's an organization called the Dougie Center.
Should I go to Portland? I think rose gardens in bloom.
Well, that'd be nice, but I would, in Victoria is a big city, I'm sure there are resources for people who are having extreme grief or circumstances of a lot of grief, a lot of loss. And it would not be wimpy or self-indulgent to avail yourself of that kind of services.
So more so than meditation?
Meditation is one tool and a very potent one. But there's a term that I use in my own life, which is that there are circumstances in which I need someone to hold my hand. I need someone to hold my heart. There's a term they use in the psychotherapy world. It's called the holding environment. And that one, and maybe find a therapist type or a grief counselor who can help hold you, who can provide external support so you can let go inside. And there might be some coming unglued that's really important for you.
I do feel a bit unglued, actually.
Well, of course, the fabric of the world, the fabric of life has been torn for you.
Oh.
I mean, your mother died. She was here. No matter what your relationship was like with her, she was here from the beginning. And now she's...
Go
ahead.
She's a really nice person.
So you've even lost someone with whom you had a nourishing relationship.
Yeah.
So my prayer for you would be find some support and acknowledge this is a humongous change for you. Several humongous changes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. That sounds like it's, I was worried that I was not taking it in stride.
Right. Right.
Like I should be, in equanimity, a feeling of
right.
acceptance.
May I comment boldly about that? That's a crazy idea.
Well,
really, that's insane.
Oh, thank you. I'm just feeling a bit crazy. But,
well, of course, you're trying to.
Yeah.
What in any sane culture? I mean, we are. Oh, I have a bit of a charge on this. We are. Our culture is totally incompetent around grief. We think that, ho hum, oh, your mother died, your sister-in-law died. Well, get on with life. Maybe you should do a little binge watching of TV, or maybe a trip to Costa. Maybe, of course, maybe you should shop a little more, and don't burden your friends. And I feel sad about this. That in any sane culture, you would be surrounded by community.
Oh,
you wouldn't need to be cooking. Whenever you felt like crying, you'd have a shoulder. When you felt like raging, someone would be there with you to support you and help you. Because this is a monumental change in your life.
Well, my sister-in-law took 7 months to die, and it was pretty gruesome. Like lung cancer death is really gruesome. I mean, she woke up drenched in blood one day because her skin was disintegrating. Sorry for the details, but I'm kind of haunted by all that.
Why would you not be? You probably have some PTSD. You could really use being with someone who can help you with that trauma. This is a big deal.
Thank you.
It's a big deal, and meditation isn't enough. It's important. In the long run, it will be crucial, but
yeah.
You know, I always I've had the great privilege of being present at some deaths around the world. One time in particular, I was present at a cremation in Bali, and it was like there were layers in close around, and the cremation fire was very visible. There was the body, and there was the flames, and they poured a lot of oil over it before they lit it. And then in the inner circle was the family, and the women, at least. The men had to keep it together, but the women were freaking out. Right,
Nice.
shrieking and falling over, and they were allowed to just disintegrate and be supported. And it went out kind of layer after layer, and out in the periphery were the musicians, and they were holding it together. That's sane. What we do is it's horrid, actually. So, shorthand. Who can you lean on? And if and probably some professional help. There are people whose life's work is supporting people in your circumstance, and they're good at it. And they were called to that work as a calling because they knew the spiritual value of it for them, and the fact that they could be of service. And they're often people who've experienced a great deal of loss in their own lives.
Oh.
And so they know. And they're people who've experienced great loss and turn toward it.
So there is a person in our Quaker meeting who specializes in being with dying people. She might be helpful.
She could be very helpful herself, but and she would also have all the resources. She would know who you should go to if you don't have. Yeah.
The Quakers are very, very good at all kinds of things too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you don't want to be too messy around them. Right? You don't want to you don't want to lean on them too much or take up too much time or space.
No, because I want to be it's tiresome to be around suffering people.
Are you listening? Are you listening to yourself?
I mean, I want to be likable.
I see. Maybe you're lovable in your grief. Maybe your blubbering, shrieking, dysfunctional, unable to function very well self is of great importance and worthy of all the love you could possibly take in.
Well, thank you. The meditation today, it rose up in me that what was, the reality of what was happening. Because up to now, I was just thinking, I have to be normal and cheerful.
Right.
But then I guess through meditation, like the clouds of that illusion kind of parted, and I decided to speak about it.
And you've offered every single person here a huge gift. Because everyone here needs to hear what we're saying. Because their turn to be jumped on by 3 or 4 dump trucks is tomorrow. And most of us will have the experience, well, I should keep it together. I don't want, I mean, I should keep it together. I'm a Dharma teacher, for goodness sake. I shouldn't. I'm actually preparing in a certain way. My old dog, Budo, he's right here. He's been with me since he was born. And he's not sick. He's remarkably healthy at 16 and a half. But I mean, he gets he gets one medication twice a day to help him stay a little mobile. But he's not long. He's not long for here. And every day I pat him and I spend time with him, and I'm not that I can prepare myself, but I know it's going to be a big jump when he goes. And
a dog is a good friend.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that says, oh, he's just a dog. Well, no, he's actually my friend who's been with me. When Jennifer says, whenever I need to find you, I look for the white dog, because there he is. Oh, Robert's in the bathroom. Robert, because he's always tracking me, always tracking me. Sometimes it irritates me. These little nails, click, 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 click. It's like, God, stop following me. But when that happens, I will need solitude, and I will also need emotional support.
A pet is a strong bond.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's really helpful and validating. So, and thank you for the meditation. I really appreciate it.
So I want to extort a promise from you.
Oh.
Are you willing? Willing to try?
Yeah.
Will you today call someone? And put in motion getting some really good support. There's one other perspective on this, which is that and for this I thank Stephen Levine.
Oh yeah, I know him. I've been to Hollyhock a few times too.
Great. Well, this moment in your life of this extraordinary grief is a gift for your spiritual awakening, if you will allow yourself to grieve.
Do you think Stephen Levine's book would be helpful?
Absolutely. His book, Who Dies, I carried with me on the red eye to my father's death, to my mother's stroke. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
any of them.
Wonderful too.
Yeah. And he's gone. He passed away.
No, he did not. Did he?
Stephen Levine died about 4 years ago, or 5. Yeah.
How strange. My mother went to see him in at Hollyhock.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Yes.
You can still see him online. I think believe their website is still up. It was called Stephen Levine or LevineTalks.com. Hey, Tim, do you know, is their website still up? Tim Blood?
Well, it'd be easy to find it.
No.
People stay alive on the internet, don't they?
I'm not sure if it's still up.
Yeah.
But we can check.
But his books are there, and they're wonderful.
Yeah.
It's still up.
Dave Mayer just checked. What's it called, Dave?
LevineTalks.com.
Yeah.
Was he from Portland?
No. He was from Santa Cruz originally, and then he was in New Mexico for the last years of his life.
Well, thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you for your validation, and the daily meditation is incredible.
Great. Did I get a firm promise of a phone call to someone today?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Sorry to be pushy.
Well, I just thought I should be, accepting. And
Right. That's called spiritual. We call that spiritual bypassing.
Right.
Ho hum! My mother took a transfer to a higher level, and oh my! I witnessed my sister-in-law going through an agonizing death. Oh well! It's just life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's not real. All right, I'll leave. I'll be good now.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to disappear again. My
Okay.
iPad's kind of strange. Thank you.
Thanks, Joy.
Thank you.
Robert?
Hadley.
Hi, this is Robert, aka everyone here. I want to acknowledge Joy for the extraordinary courage and power of bringing raw life honestly right here as it is. That is so, I just want to recognize that as the powerful community building act of communication that is.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, thank you, Joy. And I want to thank you for acknowledging Ruth Dennison tonight, or in the beginning of the sit today. And I know she was a student of Uba Kin, as was S.N. Goenka, and I've actually applied and am intending to be in the 10-day that they're doing later this month up in Onalaska at the Dharma.org. And I was just curious if you had anything, if you could tell me about Ruth's, assessment or her relationship with S.N. Goenka and what he has brought forth, or what he did bring forth in those 10-day retreats that they do, and how it exists in the world now. Are you aware of that?
Goenkaji was my first teacher. And I follow pretty closely how that organization is going, and I'm incredibly grateful to Goenka for turning me on to the Dharma. And I suggest to people that they get 4 or 5 years of what I think of as a balanced Satipatthana training before they do those 10-day retreats, because there's a tremendous emphasis on pushing. And I have had numerous people come to me over the years who needed some patching back together after those intensive retreats. You've been practicing long enough, Hannah. I'm sure you'll be able to handle it. And the message I would give is be kind with yourself. Be gentle. Awakening doesn't come through extreme pressure. It comes through love and compassion and continuous mindfulness. And lots of good comes out of those retreats. And some people never meditate again because of there's a certain misunderstanding of the kindness of the Dharma and the breadth of practice. But what true Dharma practice means is much broader than that.
I'm also inspired by a book I read by William Hart, Art of Living. Have you seen that? Have you read that?
Years ago, yes.
So it feels like a sort of a boot camp of practice for me. That's I'm sure many people in the Sangha here have also done the Goenka retreat. I was just curious.
It's probably true. Probably true.
Acknowledge that I'm doing that. That's the next step for me.
All right. And you will be well equipped for it after all these years of Satipatthana, of mindfulness training.
Thank you.
This year of COVID has been awful. I have assisted in two or three, I can't remember, online memorial services that they worked. They were good. They were also sterile. There was no, I believe from the bereaved person with whom I helped plan it and did it, they were way better than nothing. But by contrast with being in each other's presence and being able to, I know there's a 30-some years ago, God, it's amazing I can say that. It's just weird, 30 years ago. But I did about 10 years of practice with Joseph Goldstein and Jack Kornfield and all those folks. And then with Ruth. And I did retreats, and it would be, we'd come together, maybe 100 people would come together on Friday night. There'd be a lot of talking at dinner. And then, boom, we'd go into silence. And there'd be no eye contact and so on. And then there'd be no contact at all, no sharing, until we'd break silence at lunch, and then there'd be yakety yak, talk, 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 and then we'd all get in our cars and go away. And I did some other training. I did some Sufi training, and I was quite involved in the mythopoetic movement with Robert Bly and Michael Mead and James Hillman, and a few other men, wonderful men that helped me come back to my life as a man. So I tried experimenting. I think it was on my very first retreat. No, anyway, at a certain point, I started doing something in my retreats that was really different. And that was that at the very beginning of the retreat, I would do the setup on the first night. And then I would play a beautiful piece of music. And I would have people mill around the room, those who wish to. I gave lots of permission. You don't have to do this. And then we would meet one another, left hand up, right hand down. We would meet one another, make eye contact, and say the words, I see you. You could do that with someone right here on the screen right now. You could just look at someone and say that, I see you. And then the next thing is, they're saying it back to you, I see you. And the origin of these particular words comes from that movie, where were the Na'vi, the blue people, the planet? What was that called? Anybody tell me? Avatar. So here's these people who are intimately in contact with nature and spirit. And their greeting, and their culture was based on the Bushmen of the Kalahari. And the Bushmen, when they meet one another, say, I see you coming from afar, and are you hungry? That's their greeting. And so I adapted that into, I saw Avatar, and then I thought, well, gosh, I see you. And so then you get to meet everyone in the room, and sometimes some of my retreats at Brightonbush, there will be 65 or 70 people. And so it takes a while. But boy, is it a powerful intervention. It's also very useful for me in that as I meet each person, I can get a very quick hit. Is there anybody here who is seriously mentally ill? Because that happens sometimes. And so then that shows me where I should be paying a little more attention. But then in addition to that, every second day or so, and I've persisted in this, we have a passing of the talking object, a stick and a microphone. And each person gets as short a time as a minute and a half or 2 minutes to speak what's true for them. And this changes everything on a retreat. The safety level just goes, except for those people for whom speaking in public is very terrifying, in which case over time, they get over that. They heal that. My friend and co-teacher, Don McEachern, almost left the first time he was on a retreat with me 20-some years ago when that happened. But he stayed, and now it's hard to get the microphone out of his hand. But the piece I wanted to mention before I shared all this context is people have to leave retreats sometimes. Something happens. I've had several instances. Well, I've had a retreat in which there was a heart attack and the person left. Well, we chanted and the EMTs came. We chanted and they left and they made out okay. But I've had the responsibility on several occasions to approach someone and say, we just got a phone call and your mother died. Perfect place to receive such news. But the point I'm trying to make is this. People would, on retreats I'd been on for many years, people would disappear. You'd be sitting there and you come back to your spot and there's someone's gone. And there's no acknowledgement of it. They disappeared. And so I decided I would try an experiment. And that is that when people are leaving, and I ask people, don't leave without talking with me. But when they're going to leave, we form a circle. I put them to my right. And we start chanting, Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhi Swaha. Gone, gone, gone beyond, going. Hail the goer. And we start singing, and then at a certain point, relatively soon, I relinquish their hand, and they leave me, and they turn to the person beside them, and they bow as they sing. And they go around the circle, and it doesn't really take very long, but it's powerful. It's all mindful. They come to me, we bow. They come through the circle, they pick up their stuff, and they walk out of the room. And then I reach out and take the hand of the next person. It's powerful. It's powerful for the person who's leaving, and it's powerful for everyone in the group, because this is the reality of the human condition, right? We're in community, we leave, and the community heals, and we go on. And that's the truth of our lives, right? We always wind up leaving the circle. So why not create a really fine circle? Why not create a circle where we're honest with each other, where ultimately we can have conflict, where we can work out some of the unfinished stuff from our past? And that's part of why this gift today of this grief, speaking of the grief, it's so crucial for us to learn how to grieve in community and how to build a community which is strong enough to tolerate big losses. And this COVID beast has really made it difficult. The amount of alcohol consumption is up 100% in Oregon since the beginning of COVID. I mean, think of that. If it was 5 million gallons a month, it's been 10 million gallons a month. Marijuana consumption, legal marijuana consumption, is up 70%. Because we've been having to deal with so much alone. We haven't been able to rest in the arms of community. So that's my little rant. I really, we need each other badly. And we've had get something. This is important, the Zoom. But I invite you to lean on your friends and seek help when big losses happen. Or small losses can trigger big memories. Because any unresolved grief is always there. That's funny. Any unresolved grief is always pushing. It's pushing to heal. This is one of my favorite soapboxes. $8:21, speaking digitally. Anybody else have something you'd like to share? I really am grateful to Stephen and Andrea Levine. I learned so much from them. I learned another specific lesson from Stephen and Andrea when they were here one time. I helped put together a weekend thing for them here in Portland. And we had a date to get together on, maybe it was the day after the retreat. We were going to get together for breakfast. And I had small children, and I wanted them to meet my kids, as parents do. And it came to be time for breakfast, and time to go soon. And the phone rang, and it was Stephen. And he said, how did he put it? Robert, we're both not feeling great. And if it would be okay with you, we'd love to meet you and your wife and the kids. And it would be better for us to circle our wagons and just be quiet this morning. And I was disappointed. But I also, even in that moment, I realized, oh, this is a marvelous teaching. That it's really okay to have some limits, and not everything happens as planned. And it was a much bigger gift. That was a much bigger gift than had we had breakfast and they had tolerated my kids for an hour. And it was really important. That was the last time I saw him in person, I'm sure. I think so, yeah. Long time ago. Changed my life, though. Well, dear friends, shall we go out on an Om? Let me just check. Anybody else sitting with something you want to share?
Robert, just one thing. Just what you just said truly reinforced what this practice brings for us, which is that whatever happens, whatever occurs, is exactly what needs to happen, and that will teach us. Not what we think should happen, not the way we think it's going to go, but the way it really goes. So thank you for bringing that present for me. And
I would agree with that, except the phrasing, it's what needs to happen. I would prefer to put it, it is what is actually happening. And so I can suffer by wanting it to be different, or I can suffer by accepting it as it is. Thanks. Well, shall we do an Om? An Om or 5, and then we'll ring a gong, and then we'll be off into our lives. And I hope to see you again tomorrow morning. So please unmute if you wish. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. May we bring loving kindness, compassion, generosity, and a clarity of heart to every interaction we have today. Goodbye, dear friends. Happy trails.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robert.
Hey, Robert, I've been busy the last couple of weeks. Is the Tuesday morning movement thing not happening anymore?
You want it to happen tomorrow morning?
I'd be there if it was.
Let's do it. I'm going to set an alarm right now.
Okay. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Thanks.
Here's my
Thanks, Dave.
setting my alarm. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Eileen.
Here we're doing the leap to hyperspace. Goodbye, dear friends on Facebook and YouTube.